Hey y'all, in this video, we're going to take a look at how to extract data from SAP without using any code. Actually, SAP delivers a standard transaction, which is SE16N, which allows you to basically put a table in, pull the data out, put filters on it, and get that data right into a text file or spreadsheet. Now let's get to work. First thing you need to do is launch SAP. We've got to get into SAP to pull data out of SAP using SE16. So once you're in SAP, all you've got to do is type in SE16N. Now, this is not a standard transaction that's just delivered to anybody. So you may have to work with your basis team and explain to them why you're going to need SE16, and they may explain to you what boundaries that are going to be required of you to use that transaction code. But once you're in here and you have your proper authorization, you'll see a GUI screen that allows you to do everything from filter to select what field types you want. And I've actually put in Table KSSK, which is a classification table that basically links like a material number to a class. All right. And we're going to work on extracting this table. One of the first things we need to do is sort of like some preliminary setup. You're going to go into extras and you're going to go into change settings. Now there's three things that I want you to do in this guy. I want you to turn on technical name as column heading. I want you to turn on technical column name leads. And I want one other thing, which is technical view. And then go ahead and hit save. And then OK and OK. Now what this does is instead of having the sort of the field description, it actually leaves the SAP table technical field name in here. It also pulls over the data type and the description of the data for that specific, for each specific field name. So that is great. Now, also, this will be helpful because when we export this, we actually want to export it with the technical name, and that's what those settings will allow you to do. The other thing that I think is really important is there's a little safeguard in here. See this guy? It says maximum number of hits. Well, what that does is it keeps you from pulling accidentally millions of rows. All right. Now, if we look at this particular table, we have this little button up here that says number of entries. There's only 946 rows in this table. Now, that's not bad. That's not a large number. But let me tell you, in a lot of these production systems, you'll get into tables that literally have millions of rows. So I'm just going to warn you, make sure that you check what you're pulling, right? Understand the volume of data and understand, what I would do is if it's a large volume and it's in a client system specifically, I might do this in a sandbox or in the development environment before I would do this in production. All right. So there's a little pro tip for you. You don't want to get a call from the IT department saying who brought down or who's slowing down SAP. All right. So we see that it says entries found 946. Well, one of the gotchas on this screen is, do you see where it says maximum number of hits is 500? This is just like a SQL limit command. It basically tells the system if I hit execute right now, it's going to pull data, but it's only going to pull the first 500 rows. All right. So that's no good. We don't want it to do 500 rows. We want it to do all the rows. And since we know there's 946, well, just to be safe, we can say 1,000. All right. And we'll hit enter. And when we run it, then we're going to get all of the rows. But again, depending on the table you're working with, you're going to want to use, this is really something you need to pay attention to, this number of entries right here. Now, we've got our maximum number of hits set up. Now, what about the rest of the stuff down here? Well, one of the things that you can look at is output. Now, KSSK is not a very wide table. And what I mean by that is there's only 15, 20 fields, right? If you get into something like MARA, the material master, you're talking 50, 100, 150 fields, depending on if there's custom fields added, it could even get larger. So you want to know, do you want everything? Do you only need 5 fields, 10 fields? Whatever it is, you can just come in here and you can select what you want to output, right? So if you only want, let's say, a couple of these, you can right mouse click here and hit deselect all. And then you can come in here and say, well, I want the object class, and the class type, right? If that's all that I wanted, but not me, I want it all, right? Never enough. So I'm going to say, instead of deselect all, I want to find select all right here. I want to get all of them. All right. The other thing that you can do in here is you can actually filter, right? So if I see something like class type and I want to say, well, what even is available here? I can, oops, not that button. I want to hit this button and I can see all the different class types. So if I just want material class, I can select material class and it will limit it to just that class, right? So it'll say, oh, now the number of entries goes from, what was it, about 500? No, it was 900 down to 3, right? But I don't want to limit it to that. I want, right, 940. I want all the records, okay? But that is actually something that's really important. If you're working with something that's 10 million rows, you may need to limit, like by class type, or by plant or company code, or something to whittle this guy down to something that's actually extractable, because a lot of times the basis team will actually put a cap on what you can pull out or how much memory you can use. And what you might need to do if it's a dire business need is you might need to do 3, 4, 5 different extracts to get all the data you need. You might have to do this set of plants and then this set of plants, or this company code and then that company code. You have to find a way to slice and dice the data to get it out, maybe put it together in SQL Server, especially if you're talking more than 1 million records. The other thing that I think will be important for you to know is there's a little flower over here. When we click that, this is where we get more options where we can say like less than, equal to, greater than, include in a range, that include in a pattern. Those options are in there, and you get those by clicking the little flower right over here. Let's see, did I cover it all? Let's see, we've got the output fields. Oh, I know what we want to do here. Inside of this guy right here, this is got a place for you to put from and to values. So I could actually like list out a number of values, but I also, this guy right here, this is golden. You see where it says upload from clipboard? So let's say I've got a list of materials and there's like 1,500 materials that I'm working with. I can actually copy that from Excel. And then if I'm working with a table like Mara, I can come into this screen. And if it was for material number, I could say, I want to copy from the clipboard, and it'll pop all those material numbers in without me having to type them in one by one. Super powerful. I use it all the time. This guy right here, which says upload from clipboard. So if you get a list of any key customers, vendors, materials, classes, whatever it is, and you've got them in a spreadsheet for say, and you want to filter them in a table in SAP, this is where you do it. You copy it in the spreadsheet, then you come over here, bring this up, and you use this guy to paste it. It'll take the values out of the clipboard and put it into the key, and it will limit it. Now, once we have everything set up, so we've done our settings, we know which fields we want to output, we've done any filters that we might want, we've made sure that we've got the maximum number of hits to get all of our rows, we can go ahead and execute it. Now, you'll see, because of the setting changes that we made, that we actually get the SAP field names for KSSK. So OBJEK, MAFID, KLART, etc., etc. And now, what do? How do I get this off of the screen and onto my PC? Well, there's this little guy right here that says export. If I click that export button, you get all these options: spreadsheet, word processing, local, etc., etc. Honestly, I've only ever used 2 of these options, either spreadsheet or local file. And I've learned through experience that you want to use local file. And why is a whole nother video, but Excel will sometimes do funny things to your data. And if you want to make sure you get like a good import into SQL, you're going to want to use a tab delimited text file. Trust me on that one. Let's see. So we're going to hit local file. And then here's where it says, well, what kind of local file? And instead of a spreadsheet, I'm going to say text with tabs. And then the next step is very important. You want to make sure you put the file somewhere where you can find it. All right. So important. There's nothing worse than downloading or extracting a file and then you can't find it. So I've actually got it under Documents, SAP GUI, and I'm going to call this KSSK.txt. And I'm going to give it a, I'm going to call this dev. So because it's coming out of like a development or sandbox. So KSSK dev.text. And there are two, actually all three of these buttons here, but I use generate or replace most often. So generate basically means create the file. Replace means replace the file. In this case, we're going to hit generate and it will come up with a note down at the bottom of the screen that says your file has been generated. Now, if you see something that says code page, that has everything to do with dealing with, I don't want to say crazy characters, but different international characters, right? So instead of just a normal ASCII set, you might have maybe Hindi characters or Chinese characters that you need to deal with. And depending on what code page you might have set and you're pulling in and out with the data, you'll get a different code page number there. So what happened? Well, let's go take a look in the downloads. Well, you can see I already did it once in practice for the video, but right here it says KSSK dev. If I double click that, it opens up the data. Now, you can see a bunch of data here, but again, I want to give you a tip here because if you're going to go pull this into something like SQL Server, these weird headings are going to mess you up. So what I do is I highlight the rows that I don't need in this file and I delete them and save it. All right, so I deleted the extra rows at the top here. I'm going to hit save. Then once I actually have it saved, what I like to do is I like to try to open it up in Excel, right? So if I right mouse click this guy and I say open with, and I'm going to say Microsoft Excel, it's going to, now I'm on a Mac, so it's going to get, it's a little angry with me right now because I'm in Windows, but I'm telling it to open with a Mac. But let me see if I can drag it across and get it to actually flow into the presentation we're making. Hold on. Am I cool enough to do this? I don't know. We're waiting for this guy to go like this guy to come over here. Oh, boom. There we go. We have the technology. All right. So here we go. We have the object, MAF ID, KLR, so on and so forth. Again, while I'm in here, I would go ahead and get rid of this extra column, delete, and now I've got rows and columns that can actually be imported into something like SQL Server. You can save it here as long as you don't change the data type. Excel knew that it opened up in a tab delimited, and it's going to keep that tab delimited format unless you go up and do a file save as. Well, there you go. SE16, all the way from entering the transaction code to getting the data out into a spreadsheet. I really hope this video was helpful, and I'm just going to say have a great day and God bless.